So let us begin, lovely Svetlana. And we have to point out to our viewers, first of all, I've got a very squeaky chair. So it's not me making those noises, Svetlana. It's my chair. And the same thing is that I look like a giant compared to Svetlana here because I just shrink myself down. But anyway, it's fine. So lovely Svetlana, it is so nice to have you here with us to chat about you and your life, because of course you are a regular teacher here with us at Crafty Monkeys, and we absolutely love your classes and value you. And I am going to ask you about why you joined us, because you have got a huge following, and we came to you as a tiny little baby and I thought you would just literally ignore our email. So I was amazed when you came back and said, yeah, I'll teach. So we'll talk more about that later, but I thought it would be really interesting for our people who come on the classes to actually know a little bit more about Svetlana. Who is Svetlana Sotak? So the first thing I want to ask you, Svetlana, is what is your nationality? And then where are you based right now?
Okay, so I was born and raised in Slovakia, or what used to be Czechoslovakia before. And then in my early 20s, I moved to the States. And we lived in Chicago for about 20 something years. And then about 3 years ago, we moved to the Netherlands because I kind of felt like it was time to be back in Europe. And we've lived here in the Netherlands, in Utrecht, ever since. So 3 years.
And you said to me you were learning Dutch as well, are you? How's that going? Have you started yet?
It's hard when you don't put any time into it. So not very far, sadly.
No. How many languages do you speak then? So obviously Slovakian, and then maybe Dutch. Any other languages?
Well, English.
Yes. You do that very well.
All Slovak people can do Czech, and then Polish. We learned Russian at school, of course.
Yeah.
And so that's mostly. Then I know a little bit of Italian, but not much.
Yeah.
I'm starting to understand a lot better than at the beginning, of course, but I need to put some time into it. So I'm hoping to do it because I really like living here, and I'm hoping to stay here for maybe the rest of my life. So I'm like, come on, I have to.
Yeah, like the footballers when they go and join a new football club and then they have to learn the lingo, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's wherever you're from, wherever you may be, it's lovely to have you in the virtual world, of course. And let's just talk about that first of all, and then we're going to go into your history. So obviously the way, we just approached you because we started doing the online classes. And you said yes. So I want to know, Svetlana, why did you say yes to us? Because when I approached you, I think I remember looking at your Instagram at that point. I mean, now I think you're on 150,000 followers on Instagram, are you? Something like that, I think. I don't know, it's a lot. But I know when I first approached you, I think I had 628 followers because I just started the company, and you had 100,000. And I remember thinking, well, I may as well just send this email. I'll never hear from her ever, but I'll send it. And then you came out and you went, sure, if we could chat.
Yeah.
So what was it that made you want to teach online, but also, we approached you and you came with us?
I don't know. I probably would say I've always wanted to teach, but with my children being little, it just wasn't an option for me because that, traveling and all that stuff, that just wasn't something I would want or even be able to do. And so, now the kids are older, but still, I just don't want to leave them at home and, go travel. So kind of teaching online was sort of like, oh, let's see how it goes.
Well, it was lovely that you said yes, and we're very happy. And of course, it's become a lovely relationship, and our classmates absolutely love working with you. And I'm going to talk about why they like working with you so much in a little bit. But I want to go back to the beginning because I have been doing a little bit of reading. I was going to say stalking, but that's a negative association. I've been looking at things all about you, Svetlana. So what interests me is, at the moment, and when I came to you and your grid at the moment, it's all about bags, and they're the most beautiful bags, and we'll talk about that in a second. But actually, when I was looking at a blog of yours in 2011, you were quilting, you were doing patchwork, you were making mug rugs, you know, and there were a couple of bags on a blog that I read of yours, but they were so different. I mean, they were a mile away from where you are now. So how did it all begin for you? Where did your sewing journey start? Did your mum teach you to sew, or a grandma, or you just picked it up later in life? How did it start?
Yeah, I started, when was it? It was about 10 years ago when, yeah, my children were small. I was kind of a stay-at-home mom, but not really, because also working was our other business. And I needed something not to go crazy. And since I couldn't really leave them at home alone because, you know, they were small. So I needed to start doing something in the house. And somehow, you know, I don't even know how, I kind of came across some quilts online. I don't even, probably on Flickr or something.
Yeah.
And I was, oh my gosh, maybe I could try doing that. But I couldn't really sew at that time. Like, I sort of knew how it worked because my sister went to some fashion school, I think, when we were in high school. So I kind of saw her sewing, but I tried sewing a pair of pants and they sort of fell apart. So I wasn't doing it anymore. But then when the kids were little, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give it a try, like make a blanket for them or something. And I just started liking it. I was like, oh my goodness, like they can go to bed and I can sew. And so I would do it. Like at 8 o'clock, they went to bed and I would sew until midnight, like a maniac for no reason at all, other than just sew. And like, it got to the point where my son, my youngest son, couldn't fall asleep when the sewing machine wasn't on. So he's like, Mom, why aren't you sewing? I can't sleep. So,
some people take their kids in the car to get them to sleep. You just put the sewing machine on. Brilliant.
And like everything was okay with the world when Mom was in the machine.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I discovered all these designer fabrics and they were so pretty. And I think I just needed that in my life. Like, you know, something that wasn't connected with my children or was the other job or cooking or cleaning or anything like that. Like, I was just doing it for myself. And so I quilted and quilted. So yeah.
Do you still, I mean, now obviously it's a full-time job for you, but do you still find it therapeutic, like you did in those days?
I still like sewing. I don't like quilting.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, at this moment, I just find it too tedious, but I think the time will come when I will enjoy it again.
How did you make that transition then? Did you just I mean, as I say, I saw those bags on your blog, but they were so different to where you are now. But did you just think, I'm going to make a bag today? I mean, you said you'd made those pants and they'd fallen to pieces, but did you just decide to make a bag? Or was there a kind of plan behind this as well? There's lots of questions coming out here. Let's go with how you transitioned into making bags.
Yeah. And, you know, honestly, there wasn't a plan. It just sort of worked out like that. But I think it was with my Lola pouch, the one was the binding on top. I like those Japanese pouches that I saw online.
Yeah.
But they all had the top hand sewn or the zipper hand sewn in. And I didn't really like the way it looked. So I was looking for the pattern. I'm like, come on, there must be a pattern. And maybe there, but I just couldn't find it. So then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make it myself. And suddenly, like when I started making the pattern, it just a lot more of it was really enjoyable for me because I've always liked math and I, you know, and geometry and stuff. And like, there isn't that much in the pattern making, but it still was fun to put it all together. And yeah, so then I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And I, you know, at first I was like, okay, I shouldn't even offer this as a pattern. I was like, who would want that? So when people bought it, I was like, oh, wow, people want to buy patterns. And so that kind of like fed then into it's like, okay, let's make another one. Or, because it's more like, I've read it somewhere that when you use your creativity, you don't use it up. It's just like more comes up, because sometimes I heard people say, well, I'm saving these ideas or something.
Yeah.
It's like, just use them up. More ideas will. And yeah, so it's just somehow pattern making just became exactly what I needed, because then it splits my time between sewing and doing something more, just thinking about it, trying to put it together and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. And so your first bag that you made, I mean, was that somebody else's pattern, or did you just design something in your head?
No, it was it might have been Amy Butler's pattern. And the reason I made it, because I saw it on Etsy. I saw one of the bags on Etsy and I really liked it. But I had 3 small children and I could not afford the bag. And so I kind of thought, okay, I have a sewing machine. I might be able to make it myself, although I don't know why. Like, it was a difficult bag. I don't know why I chose that. But I suppose when you're a beginner, like, what's a nice thing about being a beginner, you feel so invincible, right? Because you don't know that you should be afraid of a zipper or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And it wasn't amazing, but I used it for a while. And that was before the quilting started. And then I was quilting for a few years. And then somehow, I don't even know how I started making bags again. So it was kind of, yeah.
Well, you certainly did. And I remember you saying to me that there are times when, if you've put something up that has not been particularly attached to you, or someone has put an image of a bag and not mentioned your name, people always know that it's a Svetlana Sotak bag. You have got a definite style to it. And if anybody looks on your Instagram grid, they will see. So let's talk about the style and colors, because you have got this wonderful kind of color palette, beautiful sort of grays and soft colors, and creams and beiges, etc. It's really, there's a lovely feel to it. So I mean, looking at your blog, as I say, it's interesting because the naked bed quilt was those sorts of colors. They're very different, although your patchwork was obviously very bright colors. But
yes.
Did you, once again, was that a conscious decision to remain in the same palette, to create an image, to create a brand, or is it just that you like working with those colors?
In a way, it sort of was, because I was using a lot of color at first. Like, it was almost crazy. My kids would say it seemed like the rainbow threw up all over our house.
Yeah.
And somehow, I don't know, like, I think even just looking at different houses on Pinterest or something like that, like house decor and things like that, I sort of realized, okay, because I like the colored one, but I also like the muted one. And at one point it felt like I need to choose in which direction I want to go. And I thought, well, I wear mostly muted colors. I want my house to be calmer in a way. So that's the way I went.
Yeah.
And that kind of was like, I had to, because I still like color. I really do. When I see other people working with it, I just don't enjoy it so much anymore myself.
Yeah, it's quite amazing actually, isn't it, Svetlana, when we're in class, at the end of the classes, it is always wonderful to see everybody's fabric choices, because some people do keep it very classic, with kind of like a lovely navy and a grey interior and maybe, whatever. And then other people will go for a strawberry fabric lining and a crazy lemon outer or something, and it's quite interesting to see how people have their own their own choices. How do you feel when you see, like, in a class or other people's makes, and they have gone totally off grid compared to what you would do?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because it's so nice. Then it's like, okay, this pattern can be taken and you make it your own, because that's the idea, right? Like, this is a pattern for other people, and I want them to make it their own. Like, if you like the colors I use that. But if you like bright colors, like just go ahead, use lots of bright colors. And yeah, so I really love seeing all the different options. I'm like, oh my gosh. And many times I get some ideas like, oh wow, I should, give a try to do something a little bit different. Or so it's really fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. But I will say something else as well about your bags, and this is always something that comes out in class. I want to ask you, Svetlana, I mean, before you sort of did the sewing, what was your full-time occupation? Did you train in anything? Was there any writing background? And there's a reason I'll ask you that in a second, but what did you train as originally, if anything?
English major.
There you go. I knew it, and I'll tell you why in a second. Yeah. So were you going to be a journalist or a writer or something, and then the sewing just kind of took over, or you just did that because that was your choice?
Yeah, I was, you know what, I don't even know. Honestly, I never really had a proper job because I got married right after my college, and then we had our first baby, and the second, and then the third. And so yeah, I was going to be either a teacher or like English as a second language or as an interpreter or something like that. But that never happened. But the pattern writing sort of like put it all together for me, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, Svetlana, because the one thing, well, there are lots of things people say about your classes, but the one thing that people always say in a class, every time we do a class, people say, can I just say something please to Svetlana? And we go, yeah, and I know what's coming. And they go, can I just say your patterns are amazing. They are so easy to follow. They are so well written. There is not a mistake in there. And, people absolutely love your patterns. So
yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we definitely, especially in my high school, which was kind of like a prep school for the university, it still was a very communist school. So you didn't go to have fun there. So I guess it was okay for the future.
Yeah, exactly. Regimented, get it all written in, do it. Make sure it's all absolutely correct. Well, you do a brilliant job. You really do. Your patterns are just so beautiful to look at and follow. And as I say, it's not just that they are, sort of well written and pretty, it's that they work, because that's what people say, is that I can follow your patterns. Let's talk about the writing as well, because you did write a book.
That handmade touch.
Yeah. And so this was interiors. So you were talking about baskets. There was I think there was quilts in there, weren't there, as well, and other projects to make.
There were two, yeah.
Yeah. So when did you write the book, and how did that come about? Did someone approach you? Did you just decide to do it yourself?
When was it? I finished writing it just before our move, which was 3 years ago. So it was like 4 years ago, something like that. Because writing a book takes a long time. It's like a process, or, so when Suzanne Woods, who was in charge of Lucky Spool, she approached me, and she had this idea of making a book with different projects in it. And at first, I don't even know what my idea was, but it wasn't a very good idea. And she kind of told me, okay, think about it and come back to me. And then I was like, okay, you know what? You were right. Actually, we can do like a mix of different projects. And I really enjoyed it. I liked writing the patterns. I liked designing the projects in there. The most difficult part for me was writing the introduction and like the 2 sentences at the beginning of every project. Like, that was so hard. I'm like, okay, I pattern, but can you do like all that stuff around it or something like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, but thankfully she only wanted like 2 sentences for each project. So I was like, okay, I can do it. But that was the last thing I did.
So you didn't. So yeah, you did 1 book. So you didn't want to do another book. That just wasn't for you, you think?
Honestly, it doesn't make financial sense.
No, because
Yeah,
it does take so long. It takes so long.
yeah, and it is really tricky because I totally understand that the publisher has to make money, but then there is the distributor who takes a huge chunk, and it just I don't know. It didn't. I'm really happy I wrote a book, because I do feel like it makes you in the industry a little bit more like, legitimate or something. You can show that you have a book, and I enjoyed writing it. It just that I would think really hard before I would commit to a second one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you've got fans around the world as well, Svetlana. Where do you think your biggest audience is based? Do you have any idea? Because I mean, I know for us now, it is incredible that we are probably about 40% of our audience is American. And then a big proportion is the UK, but we do have people who follow us now who are in other continents, and outside Europe. So what about you?
Yeah.
Where's your key audience? Do you know?
I think most of the people are in the States. But then I'm just so surprised when I hear from someone from India or, Saudi Arabia. I'm like, what?
Yes, yeah, we've got a little Saudi gang following us at the moment. It's amazing, isn't it?
So, or Turkey, or, like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Or, of course, people from Russia with my name automatically write a message in Russian. I'm like, so yeah, so it's really fun and it's amazing. I'm like, wow, I'm just so lucky because it's amazing to have a job that I enjoy, to have people that like to sew and use my patterns, which I really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a lot of hard work, but a lot of luck. So.
And how long do you think it's taken you then to build the audience? I mean, when did you actually start to get your style with the bags? Do you remember when that became a thing? That was like, oh, okay, this is working now.
I think that was maybe 5 years ago, something like where I was at that point, because until then, at the beginning of my sewing, I sort of just sewed whatever came to mind. And it was even like I had a lot of fabric, a lot of different colors, like we talked about, and it was just all over the place. But it did feel to me like, from a business point of view, I needed a focus. Like or maybe I don't know if I necessarily needed it. I needed it for myself. So it was like I need to go in one direction, and I really like it. And when people like about or ask about the fabric that I buy, I always want to say I almost never buy fabric for a specific project. So I buy fabric that I like. Like I just go online, scroll through different fabrics, and I buy what I like, put it in my stash, and then when I'm working on a project, I go through my fabric and see what I think would work. So this way, the reason why it works for me is I don't worry about the exact shade of gray or the exact shade of blue, or, because when you have something specific in mind and you need something to match your other fabric, then it's really stressful because every monitor is different, right? It shows it differently. But I'm like, if I just buy it and put it in my stash, I'm okay if it's exactly what I thought it was. And that really helps because here in Europe, our fabric selection is sad. So I cannot buy from a physical store, or at least I didn't find one that would carry the fabrics I would want. Maybe they do, but very few. So I buy it online and mostly from the US. And
do you have any favorite fabric designers, Svetlana?
Not necessarily fabric designers per se, because like I said, I just pick and choose. I buy the whole collection. I just it's not for me at all, because I don't like all the fabrics in the collection. Maybe I don't like the colorway or something. I really like Cloud9, their fabrics. I like cotton and steel. I'm sure there are other designers, so it's so difficult to like name. Oh, I would forget some. And also because I do not have a specific one. I like the collections where they work with artists, because then it's a little bit different.
I think Moda is interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, obviously Janet Clare is, one of our teachers, works with Moda, but you look at other designers who are working with Moda and they're all so different. So I think it's really interesting for them as a company to put their fabric ranges out there, and everything is so different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even some companies who print their own fabric, like at first I stayed away from that. I just didn't really want it, because my experience was like print, or is it digitally printed, right? Fabric just so great. But I think they've gotten a lot better, because I'm liking it a lot more now. So I'm more open to, okay, I can order this fabric or that. And the options, my goodness, right?
Do you buy too much fabric, do you think, Svetlana? Is it like me with coats? I buy too many coats. I'm obsessed with coats. Every year it gets to the autumn time and I just go to my husband, I really need a purple coat. And I'll go, why? I'll go, because I haven't got a purple coat. I've got every colour. And it's like, you don't need another coat. So are you like that with fabrics? Do you think I really should stop this, but you can't stop yourself?
No, I'm not. I don't buy so much, because just like I said, with quilts, or really with anything, if I have too much of it, I find it overwhelming. And so I don't have much fabric. So even when I showed like my fabric kind of stash, it's not even a stash, it's like half a bookcase of fabric online, and people were like, where do you stash it, or where do you store the rest of your fabric? I'm like, that's it, that's my I have a lot more when I worked with all the colors, but because I don't need every single color and I don't quilt, so I really don't have that much fabric. I have a lot of scraps for some reason, because I feel bad throwing it away. But I kind of keep myself in check when it comes to fabric.
Well, if you could send me the name of your therapist, I would really appreciate that, because I need to learn this skill. I can't keep myself in check now when it comes to coats or cardigans. Okay, so is there anything else that you, do you just see yourself continuing to make these wonderful bags? Or is there something in the back of your mind that you think, I really would actually like to try that one day? Is there something else that you'd like to do?
No, not really. I love what I do. Like, I want to just spend a little bit more time on doing more videos or something like that, trying to figure that out. I want to start newsletter, which I've been planning on doing for, I don't know, years now. I started a sign-up sheet, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I have no newsletter yet. So these are the two things that I would like to kind of bring, but only as part of this business that already exists, because I like it. I love doing it. I love the flexibility. I love, even in classes when people get excited about making a project, making a bag, and being happy about it. So I really like almost every single part of what I do. Like, of course, I don't enjoy doing my taxes or something, because that's something to do when you are a small business. But other than that, I think it's a perfect fit for myself and for my family too. So
it is lovely as well, isn't it, at the end, Svetlana, when we see the joy in people's faces. That's, I love that bit. It's like I just put out something on the story yesterday, a girl who had never tried, she'd wanted to learn FPP. She had gone online, she'd gone to YouTube, she'd gone to the library, watched loads of free content, could not get it. So she came into the class with us on Saturday night, and then she made this amazing cockerel, this rooster, you know, and at the end, the sheer joy from her able to achieve this. And she said, you know, this has been fantastic. You know, I've loved this. Thank you. And it is when you see someone's joy in what they've done and created, and creativity is so good for the mind.
Exactly.
So once again, it is like, it's not like people have learned how to do their taxes. It's, you know, they're not gonna sit there and go, whoa, look at my paperwork. People are sitting there going, look at what I've created. And then for them to take those bags out, and people will say, where did you get that bag from? Oh, I made it. You know, it's a lovely thing. It really is nice.
Exactly. And it's even like, for me, really, when I started sewing, like, I think it saved my sanity. Like, I was at my wits' end. Like, it was so much. We were, of course, far away from all the family and friends, having 3 children, and just, it was crazy. And so every time I would sit behind the sewing machine, like, all that stuff went away. And so I feel like if somebody can start enjoying sewing because of me, I am beyond excited about that. Like, or, you know, just encourage somebody, just give it a go. And like, it definitely isn't for everybody, and it's totally fine. But maybe, you know, trying to sew something can even encourage you, like, okay, maybe sewing isn't for me, but let's see if I enjoy crochet, or I don't know, what do people do? Pottery, or folding papers, or, you know, I mean, lots of things. But I think especially for women or for moms of young children, if they can find something that they can enjoy and do it while they're at home, or, you know, maybe meeting with their friends or something, then it's really good. Because I think sometimes we forget that, or I think I'm just speaking for myself, because for me, finishing college and going directly into having small children and stuff, I just forgot who I was.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that at all. So yeah, so if I can encourage somebody to try something, any craft, or any, you know, or even running, whatever, like, kind of encourage you to do something just for yourself.
And I will just say as well at this point that there are men involved in the craft industry. We realise this as well. You know, we are getting guys on our classes, and it's wonderful and we love it. But what you are saying is that you can lose yourself.
Yeah.
You know, when you are, you know, and there are, once again, there are lots of women who are full-time mums and they love it, and it is a wonderful job. I did it myself. I looked after my daughter the majority of the time. I just did freelance jobs here and there. It's a fantastic thing, but it's very important to retain your identity, because you've got to give back to that child as well. You've got to give that child you and your personality. You can't just become mum. You've got to be Rachel the mum, you know. So yeah, I think you're right. I think creativity helps you to, if you're making things, helps you to remember who you are. What's your favorite color? What do you like the feel of? What do you like looking at? What do you like making? What do you like? And that's why creativity is so important.
Right. And even just, like, for me, it was kind of like seeing a product at the end of the day, kind of like, because as much as I loved my children, I couldn't see the you know, what I was doing. Like, okay, I can kind of see it now that they're grown up and stuff. Like, all right, we didn't do so badly. But you know, day to day, it's, you cook, you do the dishes, you read to your children, and you do all that stuff, and you love them, but you have nothing physical to show for. And maybe it was just my wrong idea of what I needed, but I just needed that. And so
something for yourself.
Yeah. And so sewing was kind of that, like, where even if I would make a quilt or something, or a bag, I would just put it there and look at it for a while, kind of like, or, you know, put it somewhere by the kitchen. So when I go by, I could see, I'm like, okay, I made a bag. Or
well, I can't tell you, Svetlana, how many other classes I've done with people who've been in your class and they've got their bag in the background. It's like there with pride. And then people have occasionally commented, oh, what is that bag in the background? And they've got it and gone, oh, this was a Svetlana bag that I made. And they do the little zip, and you know, they're so proud of it. It's great. Well, let me ask you a few final questions then, because, and I haven't told you about these questions. So zips, Svetlana, is there a zip that this might be a bit of a weird question. I know that a lot of people ask you about zips in your classes. Is there a zip that you would recommend people work with when they are making a bag?
Yes. So if for metal zippers, which are my favorite zipper, because, and again, I just try to make sure people know the reason I use metal zippers is because I like them. I like the way they look. I like working with them. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with nylon zippers at all. So if you like the look of a nylon zipper, just go for it. It's totally fine. But metal zippers, I found that YKK metal zippers, and especially the ones with what's called the donut hole, are my favorite ones. I think they are a number 4.5 because they go by these numbers, and they work well for me for pouches, for bags. I wouldn't go with anything bigger than that because it's too chunky for quilting cotton or for canvas. But again, if people like nylon zippers, or if that's all they can afford because metal zippers are more expensive, then I hope that my use of metal zippers doesn't stop anybody from using zippers or something like that. So
yeah, okay, perfect, good advice. People always ask you in class, so I thought I would ask you. It always comes up the question of the zip. Who knew that zips were so problematic?
I know, right?
I know.
It took a while to find the zipper that I liked, so makes sense.
So we need to listen to Svetlana. One question I always ask my lovely interviewees, is, if you had a dinner party, Svetlana, and you could invite, I think it's 3 guests I normally say, but Pat Sloan wanted to invite about 100 to her garden party. We let her have a garden party. But if you could invite 3 people to your dinner party, now they can be anybody, they could be passed on, they could come back, they can be alive, they can be historical, they can be friends, family, they could be a pet. I mean, I don't know if you want to sit and have dinner with a dog, it's up to you. But who would you like to have at your dinner party and why? And I'll be there hosting, so you don't have to say, well, I'd have you, Rachel.
You are?
Not that anybody has ever said they would have me at their party, which is a little bit sad, really.
Yeah, I definitely get Jane Austen.
Okay.
She's the first one, because of course she's Jane Austen.
Yes.
I'd get Jesus.
Wow. Okay. Is the biggest answer I think I've ever, apart from Melissa Averinos, who said that she would invite her inner child to dinner with her, which I thought was amazing, because she said, I would tell my inner child it's going to be okay. So Jesus and inner child. Okay.
And
is there any reason? Do you want to ask anything?
Oh, just like things, right? So then I get a scoop on like all the meaning of life and everything. So, or to know what it was like before or after, you know, like many things. And then I think I would get my grandma, because she was too young, so I guess it would be fun. So yeah, those would be my 3 people.
Whoa. I mean, that is a dinner party. Very well, though. I mean, you'd certainly have a lot to talk about.
Exactly, right? I think they all for each other's company.
Yeah, very good. That's a good dinner party. Yeah, that's going to be a clip right there. Okay, and where would you? I think we should have ended on that. Really, I might have to cut that and put that at the end. Where do you like to go on holiday, Svetlana, or what do you do in your free time? Let's take sewing out. If someone says you've got to spend some free time now, you cannot sew, you're not allowed to sew, the sewing machine is locked up and everything to do with it. So what are you going to do?
So I started learning pottery because, yeah, when sewing became my job, I needed a hobby. And I'm a strong believer in everybody needing a hobby. So I picked up pottery. I do that now. I like reading. And yeah, on like a holiday, I always like it somewhere where it's not hot. Like I'm too afraid of the ocean. It kind of, I just feel like it's gonna take me away somehow, even though it's not. But I don't really like water. I like mountains rather than that. And yeah, I actually, yeah, many people say, "Oh, I'm sure you didn't move to the Netherlands for the weather," and I'm like, actually, I did. I like it here. So somewhere cool, where the water is not gonna take me away. So,
Okay, well, Svetlana, you and I are never going on holiday together then, because my ideal place would be Greece on a beach next to the sea. I love the heat. I love the sea. Although I'm a bit frightened of the sea, as you say. I'm a bit frightened of it, but I never go swimming out. You know, when you see people when they swim out. So, what are you doing, crazy people? No, no. And I always hear this in my ear as well when I'm swimming. Even though I'm in the Mediterranean and it's fine, but you know, I go to about there. I go to about there, and then I'll just tread water and pretend that I'm actually deeper than I am. But no, I know what you mean. But I love the heat. I love the heat and the sea and the sun and the sand and sangria. But that's not Greece. But anyway, okay. So nice. So mountains. But I do like mountains and that kind of thing as well. I do, and the cool weather. I love the seasons. I like seeing the seasons. I would find it hard, I think, to live in like California or Los Angeles, you know, where it's all the time. It's that kind of temperature that is a minimum warm and then it goes to hot, but you don't ever get the kind of autumn and winter. So yeah, I'm with you on the mountains. Okay.
yeah.
Favorite food?
Favorite food?
These are the things we do not know about Svetlana.
Yeah, I don't think I have one. I thought about it the other day. Actually, we were talking about it with my kids. I didn't think I had one. I don't know. I like a lot of food. I like Indian food. So Indian cuisine. So it's not just one food, but I like the cuisine.
What piece of advice would you give to anybody who is sitting here now thinking, do you know what? I'm going to get myself a £250 sewing machine, or I'm going to rent one, or I'm going to get that one out of the loft, and I'm going to make something, do something. What advice would you give them? It can even be a quote about, you know, believe and you'll be okay. Or my favorite quote, and I all the time I say this to my daughter, and now it's really sweet because she'll stop me and she repeats it back. She was going for a job interview the other day, and I started, and she went, I know what you're going to say. If you fail to prepare to fail. That, and I always say that is such a great line. The other one is from a film director called Steven Soderbergh, who said, talent and perseverance equaled luck. So he thinks to get lucky, you have to do that. So, but it doesn't have to be a quote. You could say anything to anybody who is starting out on their sewing journey. What piece of advice would you give them?
I just always tell people, if you keep at it, you have to get better. Like, there is no way that you keep sewing and you get worse. That's just the way it works. So many times I say, it's not, because people sometimes say, what kind of machine do you have? Because I want to sew like you. And I'm like, okay, here's the machine, which you can get, right? But I personally don't recommend an expensive machine at the beginning, because you don't even know if you will like it, but just sew. And I would say, sew with a pretty fabric that you like, because I don't even like to make samples for my patterns out of ugly fabric, because I think it skews my idea of the pattern. So I just like to use fabric that I like. And yes, sometimes like for the lining of something that maybe you think, okay, it's not going so well, but I'd say use something you like, pretty fabrics. Yeah, don't buy an expensive machine, but buy good fabric, and keep at it, keep making it. Like, okay, the first bag of course cannot be great. Like, I mean, like you mentioned, my mug rags, those are the biggest entertainment for my children. They kind of were like, this is so awful, and how proud I was of these mug rags when I made them. So I'm like, oh, feelings, but they're like, they are horrific. So, but you get better.
You
So,
do, exactly. It's really good advice. Just keep going and you get better.
yeah, you have, like, at everything, there is no way you won't get better if you keep trying, right? Like we said, with my Dutch learning, I'm not learning because I'm not putting any time into it.
Yeah.
But of course I'll get better. So
Yeah.
there's a lesson for myself.
There is a lesson. There is a lesson. Well, lovely, Svetlana. That was fantastic and a lot of fun, especially your dinner party. Outstanding. I'm going to never give people a heads up that I'm going to ask them that question, because that's the best answer and it wasn't prepared. So there you go. That's a good one. But thank you so much. It's been brilliant, and long may you continue coming on board the Crafty Monkey ship to teach our lovely students and coming up with all these lovely bags, and long may you continue your journey in the sewing world, and that everybody gets to know about Svetlana Sotak.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. Yeah.